it turns out Donald Trump has been trying to impose tariffs based on the wrong law, and he got nailed for this. Now, The Economist is offering him an alternative, and we'll see where this goes. But the United States Court of International Trade, which is a federal court created by Congress, it's an Article III court, and it specifically deals with trade issues. It's essentially kind of like a district court. They ruled that Trump exceeded his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, what's called IEEPA, I-E-E-P-A, International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And they write, this is what the judges wrote. By the way, an Obama judge, a Reagan judge, and a Trump judge, a Biden judge, and a Reagan judge, unanimous. They wrote, the IEEPA does not authorize any of the worldwide retaliatory tariffs. The worldwide tariffs exceed any authority granted to Trump by the IEEPA to regulate importation by means of tariffs. Turns out this law that he's using, this Emergency Economic Powers Act, which gives the president the power to, quote, regulate trade during times of emergency, which I think when they were probably, this is just my opinion, when they were writing it, they were probably thinking in terms of like, when Franklin Roosevelt ordered car companies to make bombers, that sort of thing. The law, it turns out, does not contain the word tariff anywhere. The word tariff is not in this law. And so therefore, the court said, we do not read IEEPA to delegate an unbounded tariff authority to the president. Now, where it gets interesting is that there is a different law, which is called the 1974 Trade Act, which does give the president the power to impose tariffs. This is not the law that Trump is using, but it does have three specific requirements. First, he must conduct an investigation of unfair trade practices by another country. Second, there must be public notice. We are going to impose a tariff, blah-de-blah. And there must be a comment period where, Americans and people in other countries, whatever, can comment on the proposed changes. The president has done none of those things. Trump has done none of those things. So, and the act would require a separate investigation into every country that we intend to impose tariffs on. So you can't just do a blanket, 10% tariff on the world or 30% tariff on, all these countries kind of thing. So, step by step, the court also said underlying the issues in this case is the notion that, quote, the powers properly belong to one of the departments. Now, this is a quote, by the way, from James Madison from Federalist 48. Quote, the powers properly belonging to one of the departments, this would be Congress, ought not to be directly and completely administered by either of the other departments. That would be the courts or the executive, the president. In other words, Congress has the power to impose tariffs, not Trump. They go on to say, because of the Constitution, this is the court ruling, because of the Constitution's express allocation of the tariff power to Congress, we do not read IEEPA to delegate an unbounded tariff authority to the president. We instead read IEEPA's provisions to impose meaningful limits on any such authority it confers. It goes on to say, at the very least, it does not authorize the president to impose unbounded tariffs. Second, IEEPA's limited authorities may be exercised only to deal with an unusual and extraordinary threat with respect to a national emergency. And they say the trafficking tariffs do not meet that condition. They fall outside the scope. Interesting.